Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Tuesday Morning Quarterbacks. I'm your host, MommasBackhand, bringing you another gameplay with an S12 shotgun long barrel attachment, domination on Nuketown 2025. I hate the shotgun. This gun is just god-awful, but it is a pretty decent gameplay. Hope you guys enjoy. I just prestiged again, that's why I'm using the UAV, the Lightning Strike, and the Dragonfire. Normally I wouldn't do that. Anyway, let's jump into the content. It's going to be a good one. We're drawing near to the Super Bowl, which is this Sunday, and I just feel like I've missed so much over the past 3 weeks, and I sincerely apologize. I missed the huge offenses that I promised in the divisional round of the playoffs. I missed the Ravens beating Peyton Manning, who for me is the best quarterback to ever play the game, and Tom Brady in back-to-back weeks in the playoffs. Now, beating Manning isn't a huge deal. In the past seasons, he's had atrocious defenses to make up for, but this season, he had a top 10 defense. The stars seem to be aligning for him this year. Quite honestly, had his safety taken a better line to that ball, that bomb from Joe Flacco, I believe we'd be discussing the odds at Peyton winning the Super Bowl this year. Although Peyton Manning beating Tom Brady in the playoffs sounds somewhat impossible, because in previous years, Brady's Pats have always owned Peyton's Colts. And that's precisely why I would have taken Peyton this season over Tom. Anywho, let's stay on topic here. The Ravens beat the Patriots handily and are looking forward to the San Francisco 49ers this weekend. Being a Redskins fan from Maryland, saying the words Ravens in the Super Bowl makes me want to punch a baby in the throat. I hate the Ravens. I hate Baltimore. I hate that Ray Lewis was a murder suspect at one point. I hate that Trent Dilfer won a GD ring with the Ravens. Trent effing Dilfer. For those of you who aren't aware of who Trent Dilfer is, you're proving my effing point. Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Troy Aikman, those are the names associated with the Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer, God, it makes me shake my damn head every time I say it. Anyway, the Ravens are going to the Big Easy to square off with Colin Kaepernick's 49ers for Super Bowl XLVII, or to anybody not familiar with their Roman numerals, Super Bowl 47. Kaepernick has only started 9 games in his young NFL career. 9 games. Only 2 players have started less games at the time of their first Super Bowl appearance. If you guys don't know who Trent Dilfer is, you surely won't know who the other 2 are that started less games than Kaepernick. I even had to look them up. I think this game has the makings of an instant classic. I've never thought about a Super Bowl that way, but look at what we have here. If the 49ers win, Kaepernick looks like an all-star, a rookie phenom. He's the one that can make the running quarterback at least relevant again. We've seen Vic use his legs to run as fast as possible into injuries every year to the point that a running quarterback just hasn't been able to break through. The guys that can, in quotations, use their legs have been much more coveted than the guys who mainly use their legs. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. Just look at Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay or Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, etc., etc. Then compare them to Michael Vick's success. Compare them to the durability of RG3's knee. I think Tom Brady is the only huge-name quarterback that was actually injured on a play that resulted directly because he couldn't avoid the pass rush. Even that hit's kind of iffy. I don't believe he could have anticipated that hit happening. At any rate, the other side of the coin is, if the Ravens win, Ray Lewis sails out of the NFL with his second ring, the final chapter in his effort to be crowned the best linebacker to ever play the game, and the next huge-name sportscaster to join the ESPN team. Now that last part is pure speculation on my part. I know he said he wants to watch his kid at the U, but, I mean, come on. The guy's a football freak. You don't think he's going to not be a commentator when they're going to throw millions at him. Anyway, I'm sure he won't have a tough time finding work. Let's put it that way, even in this work environment. I've spent a lot of time on the Super Bowl, but after all, it's the effing Super Bowl. This happens once a year. It's the day when fan and non-fan alike buy a pile of saucy chicken wings, they fry everything, and drink just a little too much than they should on a Sunday. I, for one, will probably stay away from the booze this year. I just have a lot of things happening in my life, and I just don't think a drunk Sunday is smart at the moment. Plus, I want to remember this one. There's a Capitals game earlier that day, and then, like I said, this game could turn out to be an instant classic. I don't want to have a foggy head because I thought beer was cooler than the game. Anyway, I hope the hype doesn't ruin the product. Either way, we'll have plenty to discuss next week. Now, moving on to that Capitals game before the Super Bowl, the Capitals got out to a super slow start this season. The guys looked tired, they looked uninterested. They seemed to be worried about everything else but what they were doing on the ice. Ovechkin was moved to the right wing at the beginning of the season, and it completely showed. He's constantly out of place. He's been tripped by his own teammates. He hasn't covered the slot on defense. He's an absolute liability on the penalty kill, which Coach Oates appears set on having OV play penalty kill for the first time since he's been here in America. I didn't see him play in Russia, but I can imagine he probably didn't play it there. But it was a rough start for everybody. Everything looked bad, and for that, they felt the Lightning, the Jets, and the Canadiens in complete routes. They were terrible games to watch. I was actually at the Jets game. I was 3 rows off the glass, yelling all kinds of mean things to ugly Dustin Byfuglien and his D partner Tobias Enstrom. But Toby Enstrom, in my own defense, looks like a teenager on the ice. He's a boy amongst men, especially standing next to Byfuglien. But damn if he didn't have 3 assists and earn third star of the game just to shut me up. The Caps then went to New Jersey to face Coach Oates' former employer, where they lost in overtime, but that overtime loss gave the team their first point of the season, which is good because they were the last team in the Eastern Conference to earn a point. Now, last game, they handled the Sabres. It looked like the Caps were going to dominate the Sabres, but of course, let the game get close and had me clenching my butt cheeks till the final whistle. At any rate, we have 3 points. The season's young, and pray the Caps get it together. These Tuesday morning quarterback videos can get real ugly real quick if the Caps don't do well this season. I'll have only them and the now potential steroid-linked Gio Gonzalez of the Nats to discuss once football's done for the season. But before we get started on that, note that the Caps play today. They play Thursday, Friday, and Sunday this week. I hate that the lockout happened for the sport's sake, but I love getting hometown hockey 3 or 4 nights a week. You just can't beat it. Especially if they're playing well and they're fun to watch and they have, a chance every night. Those first couple games were just brutal, to the point that I was almost willing to turn the TV off, which I don't do in sports. It's against my religion. You don't go against your team. You're a fan till the end, and that's just the way I work. But I was very close to wanting to turn the effing TV off. But anyway, let's move on to the Nats. Gio Gonzalez was mentioned 16 times in the log of a steroid clinic based in Florida. The clinic has been closed for quite some time now, but even having the link to steroids can be a death sentence to a player. Look at Ryan Braun tested positive for steroids and was able to beat the test due to a mishandling of the sample. Now, in my mind, that doesn't mean that he didn't do steroids. That means that the person holding his pee cup didn't follow whatever protocol comes with the task of testing players' pee. I think what it boiled down to was that Braun's pee sample was held too long before it was shipped to the lab or whatever. Braun appealed a 50-game suspension, citing that the sample had too much time at the holders, making it easier to be tampered with, blah, blah, blah. In other words, he found a loophole that overturned his suspension. It didn't make his positive test negative all of a sudden. I think I'm dwelling on this a bit, and I think you guys see my point, but Gio was in the discussion for the Cy Young Award this past season. In my mind, anyone who accepts awards knowing that they're cheating is an absolute terrible person. Lance Armstrong accepted 7 Tour de France titles against men that put their heart and soul into that sport that will never be at that physical level ever again. He wanted to say that it was, 50% of the sport was cheating or, blah, blah, blah. Or he was on the same playing field, whatever. He thought he was putting himself on the same playing field. I'll tell you what, weasels, bullying your teammates to keep quiet and join you doesn't sound like someone who's trying to stay on the same field as everyone else, in my opinion. Anyway, in non-steroid news, the Nats signed Rafael Soriano. He's a relief pitcher, widely regarded as the best reliever on the market this year. I don't know why or how they plan to have Soriano, Clippard, and Drew Storen all on this roster come opening day. But that's the move that they made. They also resigned Adam LaRoche to a 2-year deal, which I already covered. But I guess those 2 moves potentially made the idea that they could move a reliever and Michael Morse together for some extra depth, or maybe a premier batter, perhaps. I'm not as deep on baseball as I am about football and hockey, so we'll just have to see, what they've got up their sleeves, I guess. And speaking of sleeves, let's move on to basketball. Did you see what I did there? The NBA players don't have sleeves on their jerseys. Corny, I know, but it was a great segue. Surprisingly, the Wizards have been on an absolute tear lately. Remember, the team only won 20 games last year, and 30% of those wins came on the 6-game win streak they ended the season on. That's right, they were 14-46 before that win streak. This season, they almost set the record for most losses to begin a season ever in the history of the NBA. They were like 5 games short of that record. I was at the game they won to break that record, or that streak. It felt like the fans wanted a loss more than they wanted a win. If you're going to be terrible, like super terrible, be the worst there ever was. You know, we were happy-ish to see a win, but owning the record for most losses to start a season would have been epic. Anyway, with John Wall back in the lineup, the Wiz have won 6 of the last 11 games and started to look like a real team again. I'm sure it won't amount to anything, and I would be absolutely stunned if they were able to make the playoffs, but the run was nice. As short-lived as it is, it's nice to see them have a little success every once in a while. Anyway, that's all the time I have here, guys. It's been Real Weasels. Until next time.